I think people are going to come in late, but that's okay.
Okay, no problem. Well, so Cassidy, do you want to get things started, or do you just want me to dive into it?
You can dive into it.
All right, great. Hi, everybody. I'm Mark Gelfo, and I know Cassidy from Jeff Nelson's Fearless Camp, where I was doing some coaching. And what I want to do right now is hear some noise from you. So please make some noise. Yeah, great. All right, and this time make some noise and move your arms. Woo! Like that. All right, we got one unwilling participant in my immediate. But most of all, how hard was that? Did anybody get performance anxiety? Raise your hand if you got nervous about doing that. All right, great. One in the back. Nobody else? A little bit? Okay, good to know. Even these little performances, these little moments when we do something that's just a shade outside of our comfort zone can provide an opportunity to catch the systems that are at work that interfere with our ability to perform our best. You follow? So what exactly is going on when I say make some noise and you get this moment of like the rush, right? The adrenaline comes up, whatever, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, and then you do it and something happens. Well, first of all, there's a basic expectation of like your behavior being received by somebody who you don't totally know, and in particular by a group. And there's a very basic fear of the social group rejecting you based on a judgment. And as far as I can tell, that's never going to go away. So what we have to do is learn how to work with some of these so-called symptoms of anxiety or stress in the present moment in order to have better and better performances. The other thing I'm going to talk about is how we can prepare to reduce the level of stress and reduce the level of anxiety when it does come time to perform. So you all have like a test, some final exams coming up, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And any musical performances coming up?
Big one.
Yeah. All right. I want to hear about someone's musical performance. Raise your hand if you'd like to share. Yes, back there.
So I had to do a recital this semester. It was my senior recital, and right before I went on stage to perform, I actually had to lay down in the practice room and had really shallow breathing and freaked out completely. But then afterwards, it was fine. But like I had that moment of total freak out.
What do you play?
I'm a voice major.
You're a voice major. Okay, you play your voice. How did that? So, and your singing actually ended up being okay in the context.
Yes. Yeah, it was definitely a moment. It took a moment to settle in to my body, but like the major freak out happened right before.
Has anybody had the different experience of you get that freak out and then you start to play and things just whoo, crash and burn? Yeah, I've had it. I think that actually what you did by managing your stress beforehand and like letting the freak out happen was good strategy. And let's talk about a couple basic strategies right now that we can use when these kind of symptoms come up. The first one is ignore it and try and do your best. Has anybody done that? Yeah, I've done that. The second is to try and change it. Anybody done that? Like meditate, have a banana, drink some water, talk yourself out of it. No, you're gonna be fine, whatever. The third is to really accept it, feel it, and go into it like it's a delicious meal. Has anybody ever tried that? Yeah, I've tried it a little bit, but it's really like, it's not the most intuitive option. Who has practiced meditation here? Yeah, Cassidy, what kind of meditation have you practiced? Can you describe it?
It was basically the stuff you taught us at Fearless Camp. I just expanded on it.
Would that be like watching your breath or things like that?
Yeah.
All right. Everyone check in right now. I like to put numbers on things. So 0 to 100, how anxious are you feeling right now? Just get a number in your head. And raise your hand if it's under 50. Yeah, I'm hovering around 50. Raise your hand if it's over 50. All right, cool. Let's take 30 seconds now and just do a quick intervention. What I want you to do is relax your hands down into your lap, feel both your feet on the floor, and just start to watch your breath. Just notice, is it going in or is it going out of my nose? You can feel the breath of the nostrils. It's very freeing because you don't really have to do much at all except notice in and out. And we'll do 5 more breaths like this, just noticing. Avoiding the temptation to control the breath, just let it breathe you. Okay, and that's about 5 breaths. And now check in with your anxiety score. Has anybody's score gone higher? No? Anybody's gone lower? It feels like 1 to 100, like you're lower than you were before. I do. I feel like I'm dropped about 20 points. And everybody else stayed the same? More or less? It's worth tracking because we all have our own like response curve to various techniques. Does anybody else have like a calming technique that they rely on, that they go to right before you perform or when you take a test, anything like that? Crickets. I've found that meditation, like researchers say that meditation takes 15 minutes, 11 to 15 minutes if you want to affect a state change. So what we just did, 5 seconds, is not scientifically validated for creating a really solid change in your emotions. And I keep talking about this word state change. What is a state change? It's what happens when your physiology changes. And we have like a cycle of causes, okay? You've got emotions, you've got thoughts, you've got state, and you've got actions. And what we find is that it's not necessarily your emotions or your thoughts that drive your behaviors, it's your state that drives your behaviors. So if you're feeling nervous and your body is like really shaking and you have the thought, I'd like to be still right now. Who thinks that's gonna work? Raise your hand if you think it's gonna work. Yeah, nobody, right? We all know intuitively that your state is more important for the quality of your performance than your thoughts or your emotions. At the same time, your thoughts and your emotions create your state because your thoughts can drive early lead actions. For example, like I'm going to meditate now, or I'm going to focus on my toes, that lead to better performance. Who has experimented with a focus point before in a performance? Cassidy, okay, 2 out of 3, 4. Let's try it right now. Go ahead and just same performance, right? Same easy performance theme. Just raise your hands and make some noise. Woo, like that. All right. All right, now focus point is going to be on, imagine a really happy moment from your life, like a celebration moment. Maybe it's a party or a time that you achieved something really cool, or graduation, or just out with your friends having a good time. I remember that moment. And then let's do it again. 3, 2, 1, happy moment. Woo! Yeah, a little bit happier. All right, this time focus on the volume that you're producing, with an eye towards producing more volume. 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah, exactly. All right, now focus on how negatively I might judge the way you look while you're performing. And give it another shot. 3, 2, 1, go. Big difference, right? Big difference. And part of what I really love about performing and about focus points is learning to become conscious of what you're actually focusing on when you're performing. Because a lot of times we don't even know what we're focusing on. You might think that you're trying to perform this piece really well, or answer these questions on a test really well, or share some information. But actually, you might be unconsciously focused on, what are they thinking about me? Or am I going to pass this test? Things like that. Our tool for discovering what's going on is mindfulness. Everybody know what mindfulness? Raise your hand if you know. So, okay, so like not totally clear what mindfulness is. Mindfulness at its very basics is awareness of what is. Not what we want it to be, not what it could be, what it should be, but what really is in the present moment. It's our connection with reality. And when you know what reality is, that equips you to make the most basic changes that you want. And it's interesting that, you know, I see sort of like 50% response on mindfulness in the room, because it's a very foundational basic skill. And one reason why I think that performance anxiety is kind of like almost at an epidemic in society is that we don't practice and aren't really taught these basic mindfulness skills like meditation. So what I would recommend to everybody, if you want to write this down, it's really easy. Go to like headspace.com or calm.com. Find some guided meditation tools. It might very well change your life. I will read you a quote from a recent student of mine who started doing the meditation. Give me 1 second to pull it up. Okay. Here we are. He said, it wasn't so easy in the beginning, but it starts coming. It was the best thing I've done for the last years of my life. After that, my mind was so clear and light from all the burden I had that I almost couldn't believe it. One thing is for sure, I'll do it the rest of my life, even if I stop playing horn. And I also told my wife to do it because she's a teacher. It helps so much. I'm going to go do it again right now. That's the kind of reviews that you get. And I'll share my meditation workout with you. That he's talking about that particular video. I'll send you when we're done. But I promise you, if there's one thing to take away from this talk, if you're not 100% familiar with mindfulness and not 100% familiar with what it feels like to do a 5 or 10 minute meditation and actually hear your thoughts, hear your emotions, and start listening to your body and listening to reality, do that. And I'm taking 30 seconds of silence to let that sink in. Silence is potent, right? It's an underused tool. When you stop talking, then it's like, whoa, what's going on here? And I think that's one reason. Another way that we get a little thrown off in performance is that moment right before you play, there's this incredibly loud silence. And we're not used to handling silence. You get a meditation practice, you get used to handling silence. And then it won't be foreign turf, it'll actually be your home turf that you're operating from, your home base that you then create sound from. Same thing in a test, right? You're sitting there, all of a sudden, whoosh, it gets quiet, and it's just you and the paper, and like almost a scary kind of silence. All right, that's enough on meditation. Let's talk about preparation, because the way that you prepare for an event really can drastically change the outcome. And I'd like to hear some stories about how you're preparing for your final exams right now, so we can just kind of sample where we're at. Can I have a brave respondent tell me about what exam you have coming up and how you're preparing for it? Maybe somebody I haven't heard from.
Like, do you mean written tests or like performance?
Well, it could be either, actually.
I don't know. Well, I've got this thing called an upper divisional, and my instrument is piano. And so when I'm in the practice room, if it's like the week before a performance or something, I'll like actually practice like bowing, or like I'll actually practice like going into the performance. To prepare.
Do you practice different strategies of performing?
What do you mean?
Well, like yesterday, for example, I set up my video recorder and I got my horn and I played a simple tune. I'll play it for you guys. It's a really, really simple tune though. Thank you very much. I like these simple tunes because they provide a laboratory to really explore. And then I left my room and I came back and I said, I'm going to nail it now. So this is what it sounds like if I'm going to nail it. All right, I nailed it, right? And then I came back to my room and I said, okay, now I'm going to do my very best. You might hear a difference. This is my very best. Did you feel like a little happier, different vibes, different kind of emotions? Even through this crappy microphone and over kind of Skype, you can hear it's a different vibration. Now I'm going to show you something interesting. Here's my 100% best. 100%, my absolute, really, I'm going to do 100%. It's almost too controlled. I hesitated, I got nervous right beforehand. I was like an Olympic diver in freeze about to, here's my 80% best, just 80%. Kind of like a nicer performance. So that's what I mean when I talk about trying different strategies, because you're each going to have a different strategy that works for you. But you might try bowing. Like, for example, I'm going to practice bowing, but I'm going to practice bowing thinking about how much I appreciate the audience. I'm going to practice bowing, thinking about what a crappy job I just did. Start to pull in different focus points and compare and contrast the quality of your performance when you have kind of like an anchor, and that will point the way forward for what you want to create. Another example that I want to share is emotional training. And all of you are musicians, right? Like you play something, sing, you love music. I've also been exploring just playing the same phrase, but with different emotions, or no emotion at all. For example, this is a phrase with just the notes. Okay? Now, this is the same phrase, but I'm going to channel pure happiness. Very different. I mean, pretty different. And now someone throw out a really negative emotion for me.
Anger.
Anger. All right. Oh, anger. It's drastically different. And it might seem obvious to you, but the reason why this is a valuable practice is that you get to hear what those emotions sound like in a safe practice spot, what your version of those emotions sound like. And then you might actually just catch yourself in the practice room or in a performance and thinking, oh my God, that's anger. I hear anger in that. That's why it sounds bad, because I'm angry. If you don't do the exploration, you'll think, well, my tone quality is bad. I need to work on my tone quality. I need to work on my articulation. No, none of those skills are the problem. The skill is learning to channel the emotion through the music. When you get to those higher level skills, which I would call energy literacy skills, because emotion is just energy, then you can start to prepare for your performances with high level anchors that keep you headed in the right direction. Because if you work on your tone or your articulation, if you work on your accuracy, but you only work on them unconscious of emotional and a high level organization, then when you get into a totally new situation, your accuracy work goes out the window, or your tone work goes out the window. Or even for a written test. Does anybody have written tests coming up, by the way? Yeah, okay, so there's some written tests too. Even when you're writing, if you think of a higher organizing principle, for example, confidence or completion might take you in one direction. Satisfaction might take you in a totally different direction. Certainly for a written test, the difference between 80% and 100% trying to get that is going to drastically change the way that you approach solving the problem, and probably save you a lot of time. If you're going for 100% perfect on each question, you're going to burn out fast, and you're going to stress yourself unduly answering each question. If you go for 80%, you're probably going to actually float through the question a little bit easier. And I know probably some of you are thinking, well, 80%, that's like a B minus where I went to school, or like sort of borderline C. But it's not in the world of our body and our energy. So there's like a dividing line between the objective standards that we're looking to achieve, which would be like 100% note accuracy or an A+ on our test or whatever, and the kind of approach that we use from within to achieve it. Everybody with me so far?
Yeah.
Any questions at this point? No? No questions? All right. We've got about 15 minutes. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what has worked not so well for me and what has worked well for me as far as dealing with stress. Quick sort of backstory for me. I started playing piano when I was 5, and my first piano recital, I peed my pants pretty good. And I got really nervous about performing ever since then. And then I was in band all throughout high school. I played French horn in band, marching band. I loved it, but I was a total nervous wreck. And when I was 18, I decided that I really wanted to do music. That's where my heart was, and that's what I went for. So I applied to 5 different music schools, and they all rejected me. They all said no, because I just wasn't a really talented performer. And I didn't appear to have any talent at the French horn or at music. So I went to Northwestern and I studied cognitive science and computer science, and started to get a deeper understanding of what's going on in the brain, what's the psychology of performance, of learning, what's the actual anatomy of learning and of performance, and how do we design practices that actually lead to achieving what you can envision for your potential. Because that's what we're all about, right? It's like, we all have potential, we all have our next steps, and we want to get there. It's like this sort of very basic human need. After that, I went to Indiana to study music, and I applied all the cognitive science stuff to music, but I was still a nervous wreck. I was freaking out in auditions, I was freaking out in performances, and I somehow managed to get a trial with Macau Orchestra. I flew over all the way to Asia. I played in the orchestra, and at the very end of the trial, there was another audition I had to play, and it was like the audition from hell. I just cracked every note. I barely made it through it. And at the end, they said, well, we loved having you in the orchestra, but we can't actually justify hiring you based on the audition that you played. We're sorry. So I had dropped out of school, hedging my bets that I would win that job. So I kind of came back to Indiana like a non-student. I worked a little bit with Jeff Nelson, and he helped me get my head straight. One of the big things that he gave me at that time was really focusing on the why, not the what. Why am I performing? Why do I care about this? Why do I care about the music? Why is this excerpt even being asked? Things like that. I ask that question a little different now, like, what's the function of this music? And make sure that I have a really honest answer every time that I'm performing music. What's the function of this music? And how much of me can serve that function? Then I ended up actually winning the Macau Orchestra job after that. I went back and I changed the way that I auditioned. I got the job. I got into the Hong Kong Philharmonic after that with auditions. And I think the big change for me was being willing to fail in front of other people in performance. Learning to like handle that failure is one of the best training tools that you can have in the performance preparation phase. That's performing for a test. Like, say that you have a practice test question. I don't know, Cassidy, what's like a test question you might get on an upcoming test?
I don't know, like.
You don't know?
You have one?
What
What are the dates of the Baroque period?
Yeah.
Or something.
What are the dates of the Baroque period? Exactly. It may seem counterintuitive, but blasting through those kinds of answers, like the dates of the Baroque period were 1520 to 1579. Blasting through it with the wrong answer and practicing moving through the resistance, because we all feel resistance. Even right now, like I'm standing in front of people, I know that I can say those wrong dates and there's going to be no negative consequence, but I still have a little resistance to saying the dates of the Baroque period are 1400 to 1439, right? It's like, it just feels sort of wrong. And it's the same thing, you know, when we play music, there's always the risk of doing something wrong. Oh my God, what if I play the wrong note? Or what if I mess this up or have a memory slip? So if you can practice breaking through your resistance to getting it wrong, then that you won't feel this like crowding to get it right. And I'm almost like imagining people like the shoulds hanging on you, telling you, like, no, we must be this way. You should. To become free of that, ironically, allows you to travel more directly towards exactly what you want. I'll give a real life example. I've been dedicated to understanding and mastering audition performance ever since that Macau failure. And last year, I decided to take an audition I really didn't care about, so that I could precisely go and fail in whatever way I wanted to fail. So I went to the Air Force band. Who wants to play for the Air Force? I mean, a lot of people want to play for the Air Force, but like, it's not my band. So I went, and one of the challenges that I used to have was like hesitating on the instrument. You go to play and you get stuck. So I'd done that in a couple major auditions. I did it in the final round of the LA Philharmonic, and I hesitated on both excerpts that I was playing in the final round after my concerto. And then I promptly lost to the other guy. And oh man, it was painful. So I'm like wanting to reclaim this thing. So I showed up at the Air Force band, and it was the first time I had actually given myself permission to hesitate in a live audition. Whatever. Mark, if you want to hesitate, you can hesitate as much as you want. We don't care. So I went in there and I started playing, and I didn't hesitate once. I played the preliminary round. I didn't miss a single note. I didn't hesitate. It was one of the best audition rounds I played in my life. Okay, they bumped me to semifinals, and I played again. I didn't hesitate again on anything. They bumped me to finals. I played a great final round, and then they actually kind of like offered me the job, at which point I said no thanks, and kind of walked away scratching my head saying like, wow, what if I had just given myself permission to fail in the LA Philharmonic and all those other auditions where hesitation had cost me the win? So yeah, what if? But it's not that simple, because you can't just give yourself permission to fail on command. It's a skill that needs to be built. That's why I'm really suggesting that you practice failing in front of others regularly and with great zeal, with great enthusiasm. Make it something fun where you can bite the dust and be like, woo, I just bit the dust. Then you're going to have the kind of magic that allows you to go into any performing zone and have that freedom to not bite the dust. If you can choose to bite the dust, you can choose not to bite the dust. But if you're not free, you can't choose, you're effectively giving over your choice to fate. So that would be my two main recommendations. I'm going to wrap it up now with room for questions about specifics. recommendation number one, start a meditation practice. And I'll one-up the challenge to you. 1 week mark challenge, mark meditation challenge. Figure out what you're going to use to meditate, whether it's Headspace or Calm.com or my own meditation workout video that I'm sending you. Right before it, make a note, 0 to 100. How good is my life going? Like overall score, how's everything going? And then do the meditation for 5 to 10 minutes. And afterwards, check in and write the same score. I bet you that your score is going to go up. And then it'll probably go up each day. That your starting score is going to start going up each day, and your ending score is going to go up. That's my 1 week challenge. And if you want, I can set up a Facebook accountability group if you really want to do it. If you want to do it on your own, that's fine too. But really, really think about, if I gave 6-8 minutes a day to something that would improve my whole life, am I willing to do that? Am I willing to do that? I have all the tools. I have calm.com. It's the ultimate practice. It might be one of the best choices you've made in the last years. Second, practice bringing in higher organizing qualities like confidence, like appreciation, like anger, like fear. Practice being with those and practice choosing them consciously. And number 3, practice failing in front of others. Do it often, do it early, get used to it, get strong at it. Make failure one of your very central strengths, and success will also be one of your very central strengths. Okay, so that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions that you have or specific strategies, planning for upcoming performances, whatever. Any questions? Yeah.
So you talked a lot about going into the process with a certain state of mind. What if in the middle you start crashing and burning? What should you do then?
The first step is to notice that you're crashing and burning. And that's where meditation comes in, because there's 2 ways to go about it, right? One is where you're in the airplane and you're a passenger in the airplane. You go down with the plane. The other is where you're a pilot and you're checking the instrumentation and you know exactly where the plane is going and you're saying, oh my God, we just had a drop, we just had an engine failure, and you correct as soon as possible. What meditation does is it puts you in the pilot seat of your life. So you need the skill of mindfulness to catch it as soon as possible before it becomes catastrophic, and then redirect it to what you know will work. And meditation trains that, because what you do is you'll be watching your breath, and then you'll have a thought, oh, what's for lunch today? And then you redirect your attention back to the breath. Every time you catch yourself having a thought and redirect back to your focus point, your focus muscle gets stronger. It's actually in the failing and in the straying and catching yourself thinking that you have the most benefits. So don't get discouraged when you start meditating. You think, oh my God, I'm having a ton of thoughts. That's like really natural, and it's what's making you better, because every time you have a thought, it's a chance to practice redirecting. Does that answer your question, or do you want some more specifics?
No, that answers my question.
Mm-hmm. I will say, I'll add one thing on that, which is to have predefined focus points that you know support your best performance. For example, for me playing horn, I know that singing the note in my head before I play is highly likely to produce the pitch that I want. More than, for example, saying the note name, looking at the note, or just totally emptying my mind. All of those are possibilities that would work for other people. But for me, singing the note before I play it is a high likelihood success strategy. So you just bag a few of those high likelihood success strategies. You practice them until they become somewhat automatic. and then you install them as your focus point to refocus on if your performance starts going out of whack. That's about the best answer I have for it. Any other questions? All right. Any events coming up that you might like a little custom preparation strategy for? You have my free consultation available right now. We've got a piano jury, we've got tests.
Yeah, what about juries?
Yeah, we all have juries on Monday, I think.
You all have juries on Monday.
Yeah.
Monday and
that
Tuesday.
concert on Friday.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I want to take a poll of everybody around the room. Maybe Cassidy, can you help facilitate this by just like getting each person in turn? What is your highest priority during your jury performance? I want to hear that answer from each person.
Like not stopping.
Not stopping, okay. Can you just like maybe point around the room for everybody, because I can't point.
I have to say the same, not stopping.
Not stopping.
Or
again.
restarting.
Not hesitating every time I start a section.
Mm-hmm. Do we get everybody?
First note.
Oh, the first note.
Like if I can hit the first note, I know I can make it through it.
Okay, and in the very back, you have a jury as well, the singer?
No, I just did a recital, but mostly it was not forgetting the words and not going on autopilot and freaking out.
Yeah, you know what's cool about what everybody just said? Do you already know what's in common with what everybody just said?
No.
Not.
Something.
Yeah, they're negative. They're negative focus points. So I want you all to not think about an elephant right now. And I want you to not think about a piano. I want you to not think about a piano playing really happy music and not sounding really jangly and blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's step one. Now what I want you to do is I want you to look around the room and I want you to focus on everything blue. I want you to find everything that's blue. Start finding blue, blue, blue. Say to yourself, blue, 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 blue. Oh, more blue, right? You're getting more and more blue. Now say to yourself, red. All right, and do another scan. Red, 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 red. Oh, red, red, more red, more red. Oh, little more highlights of red. Okay, red, red. Oh, red on my glasses. Okay. Your brain is an incredibly evolved mechanism for finding what you're focused on. Food, food, food. Shelter, shelter, shelter. Oh, right? When you were focused on blue, you were not getting strong red inputs. When you were focused on red, you weren't getting gray and blue. If you focus on not screwing up, you're activating a thought field in your brain. It can literally be measured with EEGs, right? Like, where in the brain are we activating things right now? Okay, it's called a semantic neighborhood. Now, the neighborhood for screwing up, the words, the concepts, all the memories that you've had of screwing up, all the mental models you have of what it's like to screw up. Let's see, I've got a few. It's called clamology for French horn players. Everything you know about screwing up is activated. Blood and electricity flow to those currents, and your brain will start looking for those. It will start looking for more of it. Oh, more screwing up, more screwing up, more screwing up, more red, more red, more red, more red. So not hesitating, I'm sorry to say, might get you a little more hesitation if you're really focused on it. Not stopping, you're going to be looking for every possibility to not stop. Could I stop here? I could stop here. Oh shit, I stopped. Could I not stop here? Could I not stop here? Could I not stop here? No, you don't. Trust me. Don't go down that road. That's why I talk about having positive, high success probability focus points that you can consistently redirect to. So what's the opposite of not stopping?
Going.
Going, yeah, going. So you've got a week, okay? Identify some spots where, get like a green highlighter or something and make going, green for go, right? Or if you don't trust me, don't believe me, get a red highlighter, get a green highlighter. Make 2 copies of your music, make a stop copy where you mark all the spots you don't want to stop and practice performing it for a loved one and tell them you want them to judge you really bad. And then get your green copy and mark it with the spots where you want to insist on going. Perform it for a loved one and tell them to judge you really badly on how well you kept going when it was time to keep going. Or even try it for yourself, just judge yourself. Make it really important that for your own kind of self-respect that I keep going here, or whatever is important to you. And you can get good at this in a week. You can all be immediate, keep going, monster freaks in a week of practice, especially combined with a mindfulness practice, because the gains that you get from that are nearly instantaneous. Like after a day, you'll be like, oh, better at focusing. About hesitation. I would also say not hesitating is a low success likelihood goal to have. It doesn't predict a high success rate, but the opposite of hesitation is a little harder to go for. So the girl who said that, what do you think is a high success probability focus point for you instead of hesitation?
Probably like counting or the expressiveness of the piece rather.
Yeah, those sound like 2 great leads. And in fact, the word for this is a lead measure, because it leads you to success and it's something that you can measure. So what I would suggest in the coming week is that you just get up the recorder, get a video recorder, because it'll tell you a lot more information, just your phone or whatever, and go into the practice room, cross the magic line and say, this performance is me focusing on the emotional content. Boop, play it, leave the room, come back in and say, this performance is me focusing on counting. Record it, play it back. Notice the subtle differences in your body language and your performance skill and in the objective things that you want to convey to the jury, and science the crap out of it, and you'll have your answer about, well, what lead measures are most likely to get me to success. That's like 1 or 2 practice sessions can move your performance skills a long way. And then we had another friend with the laptop who talked about the first note. And I agree that getting the first note can really feel super important. I just played Firebird. You guys know the Firebird suite?
I love Firebird.
Yeah. And I played it last year, and I was telling you about my hesitation stuff. And last year I was kind of like I got it, but it was kind of a breath attack, sneak in, maybe chip the note a little bit. And I really didn't want to do that this year. So I was also really focused on the first note. And I knew that the more I focused on the first note, the more pressure I was going to put on myself, and the more likely I was to screw it up. So while we have things that indicate success to us, like getting the first note, those are lag measures. A lag measure is something that you can measure again, but it happens after the fact. It's a byproduct of correct action. Getting the first note is something like that. It's a byproduct of correct action. It's not something you can actually control. Or can you control 100% getting the first note?
What?
Yes or no?
Can you say that again?
Can you 100% control getting the first note in the jury?
Probably.
Really? What instrument do you play?
Horn. I play your instrument.
Oh, wow. I wish I could say I have 100%.
I said no, not 100%, but I like to sit in the practice room and just practice attacks.
Okay. So it's something that you actually feel like pretty skilled at, is getting that first note?
Mm-hmm.
How important do you think the first note is to the jury versus the entire group of all the notes which you're going to play?
Not that important.
Yeah. So what do you think is the highest priority for the jury?
Like the expressiveness, like the musicality you put in your piece, like showing what you learned over the semester.
Mm-hmm. What did you learn over the semester?
A lot of stuff. Like
A lot of stuff.
I learned more about my breathing and like tone quality and changing and manipulating it to like see what I can do with it.
Awesome. In my opinion, if there was a jury, I think they would love to hear that you might consider reframing your priority from getting the first note to demonstrating those skills that I've learned at every opportunity. And once again, get out the green highlighter. This is where I can demonstrate my awesome breathing. This is where I can demonstrate my tone control. This is a place where I really feel connected to the music, and I know I can nail the expression no matter what notes come out. Those sound like things that will really convince the jury and also allow you to communicate the hard work and the gains that you've made. Because imagine another world where you made 0 gains this semester. You could still get that first note, right? Yeah. So I would rather communicate the gains, because that's really an accomplishment, and it's really what they're listening for, according to your own assessment. So consider that. Consider marking those spots. Any other questions, or is that enough? Yeah, one more.
I have a short question. Oh, I don't know. I was thinking about like, I actually am doing voice lessons. This is my first semester of doing voice lessons, and I'm about to have a voice jury next week. And something that really gives me anxiety is like looking at an audience, or like trying to be like interactive with the audience, but also because it's a performance, but also trying to like ignore the audience because it makes me nervous to like see eyes. So like, what would you suggest about that?
Man, there's a lot of answers. A lot of answers. And I'm also like, this is what I do professionally. So if anybody's interested in having a one-on-one coaching, I do offer that. But what I would suggest is that you find a friend or two and you do actual eye-looking meditation or eye-looking practice to deactivate the charge. So what happens is when you look in someone's eyes, it's activating a bunch of cellular memory and a bunch of circuits in your brain. And what you do is you just like let those circuits run. You basically empty the charge on the activity so that it's not a highly charged activity anymore. Of course, you want to do it with friends so you know it's a safe and loving experience and that you trust each other. And like set a timer. I love timers because you just commit. Okay, for the next 5 minutes, we're going to look in each other's eyes. No matter what, worst thing that could happen is that we fall in love with each other. The worst thing that could happen. Or that you feel really uncomfortable, right? I mean, and you probably will feel really uncomfortable. But combined with the mindfulness practice where you can separate yourself from that discomfort and say, I'm looking in the eyes and I feel discomfort. there is discomfort here. Fine. And I'm focusing on looking on the eyes. That will deactivate the charge. The second thing is a little bit more subtle, and that's what got me thinking about the private coaching, because this is what I do in my lessons, is learning to come to a performance style, a performance strategy that allows you to get out of your head and into a mode where you truly feel like you're communicating. Because it doesn't feel unnatural to look people in the eye and to look at an audience when you're communicating with them. Like I'm communicating with you right now, it's totally natural for me. But if I pick up my horn, and I want you to watch my body language, maybe I'll even take off my glasses so you can see. If I go into performance mode right now and try and tell you something from memory, okay, like my eyes went this way. I didn't look at you the entire time. I was in my own world. I missed a bunch of notes. What happened? I got in my head. I got in my internal world. And I'm comfortable doing that because I know I can choose that and I know I can choose something else. But I tell you, that performance mode that you just saw exemplifies the thing that makes people break down on stage. I know it because I have broken down on stage so many times with it that I finally figured out the other stuff. If I want to communicate with you, I'm going to go to the total opposite side of the spectrum now. I want to share like my emotions with you. No missed notes. No break in my attention. It was just like I'm speaking, right? My orientation towards you and everything. Let me go back to extra performance mode. Once again, I'm off to the side, totally disengaged with you. You might have noticed your attention going somewhere totally different than it goes when I'm talking to you. And it probably wasn't super enjoyable. But if I go into the performance mode where I want to tell you something, might have been a pretty different experience. And I can't really get into how you train that because it's a path that you go from where you are now to that spot or to your optimal spot. But you might have picked up enough already to get some ideas about what it's like to truly speak to an audience and truly perform. That will eliminate all of those concerns.
Right.
Yeah. All right, thanks everybody. It's 1 p.m. and I appreciate your attention, your questions.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah. All right, happy practicing. And if you want more, you can go to markgelfo.com.